Hello and welcome to the Insights and Motivation YouTube podcast. Yes, this is an AI-generated content, but remember, there was a human at the beginning of it, creating and curating this material with care and purpose. I request you, dear listener, to step aside from any bias and listen to the message itself. Take the message, not the messenger. That is the key. The same is true for the rest of the playlists and podcasts on this channel, each designed to inspire thought, dialogue, and transformation. Now, let me begin the podcast. Interaction with nature and environment, culture-preserving applications of democratic principles. Our relationship with land, rivers, mountains, forests, and climate is not just environmental, it is deeply cultural. Sacred geographies, ecological ethics, and environmental practices shape food, architecture, rituals, and even spirituality. When democracy is applied thoughtfully, education can ensure that environmental stewardship reflects local heritage, amplifies Indigenous voices, and prepares youth for global ecological challenges. Ecological democracy, Indigenous sustainability, climate ethics, sacred landscapes, cultural ecology, green schools, environmental justice, sustainable education, eco-literacy, biodiversity conservation. Equality and inclusivity in schools. Why it matters. Inequality appears when some students' lands and traditions are celebrated, while others are dismissed as superstition or backward. Cultural lenses, examples, Indigenous guardianship, Maori rivers with legal personhood, Native American sacred mountains, nomadic and pastoralist traditions, land viewed as shared commons. Caste class barriers in South Asia, certain groups historically denied land rights. Urban versus rural, children experience nature differently. Practical cultivation, eco-parity curriculum, highlight sacred groves, stepwells, rice terraces, rain rituals, and urban parks equally. Field inclusivity, trips to forests, wetlands, farms, and urban green rooftops. Equitable voice, students from farming, fishing, and artisan families present ecological knowledge in class. Gender equity, encourage girls and marginalized groups in environmental clubs and science fairs. Number 2, freedom and rights. Why it matters. Students should be free to express ecological traditions, even those rooted in spirituality, while also free to take secular stances. Cultural lenses, sacred taboos. Some communities forbid entering groves, eating species, or cutting certain trees. Climate activism, youth movements demanding their right to a sustainable future. Practical cultivation. Right to green expression. Students can propose eco-projects, gardens, or climate strikes respectfully. Freedom of practice. Allow voluntary participation in sacred rituals like tree planting ceremonies. Creative rights. Murals, eco-poems, protest songs, or AI-generated art about local ecology. Number 3, rule of law and accountability. Why it matters. Environmental rules must apply to all, teachers, students, and administrators alike. Practical cultivation, green code of conduct, no littering, fair water use, respect for campus trees. Equal accountability, teachers must also follow recycling, compost, and transport policies. Eco-audit, quarterly checks on water, power, and waste with student participation. 4, participation and representation. Why it matters, students must have a real say in eco-decisions, from tree planting to canteen menus. Practical cultivation, eco-councils. Student seats reserved for farming, fishing, tribal, urban poor, and disabled voices. Budget participation. Decide on green fund allocation, solar panels, gardens, compost pits. Community ties. Partner with local farmers, fisherfolk, artisans, and forest guards as co-educators. Down to number 5, transparency and truthfulness. Why it matters. Openness about environmental impact prevents greenwashing. Practical cultivation. Energy dashboards. Public display of water, electricity, and waste data. Transparent policies, clear communication of tree felling, building, or land use decisions. Truth labs, compare government or corporate claims about environment with local data. 6, deliberation and dialogue. Why it matters. Land and water are often contested resources. Dialogue prevents polarization. Practical cultivation, circle dialogues, fisherfolk versus developers, farmers versus urban planners, students versus administrators, practice consensus. Myth plus science sessions, compare epic stories of rivers or forests with modern hydrology and climate science. Dialogue scaffolds, our elders say, satellite data shows how do we balance both. 7, checks, balances, and power sharing. Why it matters, environmental decision-making should not be dominated by elites or urban voices. Practical cultivation, rotating stewardship, Different student groups manage gardens, waste, or water systems each term. Peer review. Eco projects reviewed by both scientists and local elders. Community veto. Local knowledge holders can halt unsustainable school projects. 8. Civic education and awareness. Why it matters. Ecological awareness is civic literacy. Climate policy, urban planning, and disaster response are all democratic responsibilities. Practical cultivation, mock climate assemblies. Students role-play farmers, industrialists, environmentalists, and policymakers. Citizen science. Collect data on rainfall, birds, soil quality. Publish to open databases. Eco-literacy and civics. Link rights to clean air, water, and climate with constitutional values. 9. Social justice and equity. Why it matters. Environmental burdens fall unequally on poor, indigenous, and marginalized groups. Practical cultivation. Climate justice curriculum. Teach that floods, droughts, and heat waves affect slums, farmers, and migrants first. Equitable access. Gardens, playfields, and clean water for all, not just elite clubs. Recognition. Scholarships and honors for eco-leadership from marginalized backgrounds. Tomorrow morning, micro-practices. Begin class with a nature minute. Bird calls, leaf ID, or weather observation. Adopt a tree program. Each student monitors one tree's health for a year. Add eco tags to class roles. Waste monitor, water tracker, biodiversity note taker. Create a sacred space corner. One artifact, stone, seed, feather with cultural meaning. Publish a green code co-signed by all. Minimal policy kit. Plain language, 1 to 2 pages each. 1. Eco charter, waste, water, energy, biodiversity. 2. Participation protocol, eco councils, budget seats. 3. Transparency rules, public dashboards, eco impact reports. 4. Community consent guidelines, use of land, rituals, sacred spaces. 5. Climate justice policy, equitable access, scholarships, support. Assessment and accountability, percent of curriculum hours linked to ecology and sustainability. Student representation in eco councils, of Indigenous community knowledge sessions held per year. Resource use metrics, water, power, waste reduced. Surveys on eco belonging, I feel my traditions and environment are respected here. Culture-specific adaptation examples. India, with Vedic ecological traditions. Sacred rivers, Ganga and Yamuna, taught as both ecosystems and cultural mothers, pair river rituals with water quality testing. Vedic concepts of Vuta and Prithvi connect to ecological order, balance, and environmental ethics. Traditional architecture, study stepwells, courtyards, temple tanks for passive cooling and water harvesting. Agnihotra rituals, introduce as cultural practice, then compare with modern air quality science. Ayurvedic farming, link crop cycles, lunar calendars, and biodiversity preservation with agricultural science. Japan, Shinto reverence for kami in trees, mountains, rivers, paired with recycling and urban minimalism. Andes, Peru, Bolivia, Pachamama rituals linked with terracing, seed saving, and climate-resilient crops. Africa, Sahel, Ghana, Kenya, sacred groves and clan totems linked with conservation, tree planting integrated with community storytelling. North America, Indigenous nations, land acknowledgements co-taught with treaty history and ecological restoration projects. Arctic, Inuit, Sami, seasonal ice knowledge paired with climate change data, herding practices balanced with modern snow science. Australia, Aboriginal, fire stick farming lessons compared with modern fire management. Middle East, oasis traditions, Qanat irrigation, and desert greening linked with water policy debates. Refugee contexts, global, small-scale permaculture, rooftop gardens, trauma healing through nature therapy. How nations project themselves globally. Eco-heritage diplomacy, sacred groves, rivers, and monuments presented as shared human treasures. Green innovation, combine indigenous methods with tech. Solar stepwells, AI-aided terrace farming. Cultural leadership, train youth to represent their culture's eco-ethics in UN forums and global climate assemblies. Did this podcast resonate with you? Are you an educator or a higher authority with the ability to influence educational policy and reform? If so, I encourage you to share this podcast as widely as possible within your connections, and do share and subscribe to this channel. This channel has lots of playlists and educational, psychological content with a focus on how to improve all systems of education, corporate culture, and many such topics. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next podcast.